Hi. So, I wanted to talk today about is there a reason? Is there a reason for all of this? I know when you're sick and when you're suffering and when you can find no reason for all the bad, all the suffering, all the torturing, all the illness, it's very important that you try to find a meaning. There may not be a reason. There may not be a good reason that's obvious that you can see. It's like, why do good things happen to bad people? I don't know. Why are people thrown in a concentration camp by Hitler? There's a lot of good people. You know, why does somebody get hit on the road on a head-on collision? Why does a little child get cancer? Trying to find a reason for these things often leaves us baffled. It seems there's no good reason. Why, after so many years of doing all the right things, am I still sick? And somebody who does all the wrong things, smokes, drinks, eats the worst food possible, is just living it up and healthy. Sometimes there's no good reason, and it seems an injustice, it seems unfair. But in those moments, I've been lately trying to take a much wider view of what the meaning. I'm trying to find the meaning in the suffering. That's often not easy to do when you're still in it. It's often only easy to see in hindsight, looking back on something. Looking back on your deathbed, you have hindsight, you can see. And when you're often in a situation, you can't see. But I know that there's a meaning to this, and I try to find the meaning that is yet to be told. Like, maybe I had to suffer like this to spare my children from the same fate. From being given a medication that destroys them. I'll never let that happen to my child. I will never let my child, experience what I've gone through. And maybe my sacrifice, my suffering is a sacrifice for them. And parents will always say, I would take a bullet for my child. I would do anything for my child. Well, maybe this is, instead of, if that bad thing, I try to imagine, if that bad thing happened to my child, if this was my child right now suffering, would I take it from them? And knowing that I would have to suffer this exact thing, would I take it from them? And inevitably the answer is always yes when you're protecting your child. And so I try to imagine that I've already done that. I've agreed to take on the suffering for them so that they don't have to do it, and they never will, because now that I know truths, when you're ill, you learn truths that nobody else can know. And now that I see the truth, I know the truth, I've experienced what it feels like to go through this, I will never let this happen to my children. I'm very conscious of what they take, what they eat, what they do, so I know I will do whatever it takes, moving heaven and earth. And so I try to find meaning there, that yes, and I pretend that I'm already living that. I also try to find meaning. I do believe that the people who are the sickest, who are the most tortured, who have gone through the most suffering, see things. They see other dimensions to life that they didn't know existed. And not always for the better, but they see things, they know things, they felt suffering, and they've met the devil face to face. And when that happens, those souls have the most to teach the world. And I try to imagine that because I'm suffering as deep as I am, I have the most to learn and the most to offer. So I have to make it. I have to make it through this. I have to do whatever it takes, because I am going to be the medicine for somebody else. I am the medicine for somebody else. I have to make it. I am going to be the teacher, the person who's seen and who's gone through it so that somebody else doesn't have to. Or I can soften it for them somehow. So I often think that the people who have suffered the most and who have gone through the most, who are the sickest, are often the ones that the universe, sends to the world to make a shift, to make a change, to help others, to be the leaders, to be the teachers, to be the medicine for somebody else. And so I often try to find meaning like that. So while there may never be a reason, while I may never find a good reason, I can find meaning that has yet to happen. Meaning that only when I pass over to another life I will see the meaning, and I try to find that meaning now. I try to find the meaning that I would extrapolate when I cross over and transition into another life, and being shown, oh, that's the reason, that's why. I try to find that now. I try to imagine if I was already there, So yeah, to save my children, that's the most meaningful, and to be the medicine for somebody else, to be the hope for somebody else, and to show a path that I've had to learn the hard way. So look for the meaning.